How does labeling theory impact mental health? Imagine someone is told they are mentally ill or labeled as a troublemaker. That label can stick with them and change how they see themselves. This is what labeling theory explains. It shows how society's words and judgments can shape a person's identity and actions. When someone receives a negative label, they often start to believe it. This belief can lead to behaviors that match the label, creating a cycle. For example, a young person called delinquent might start acting more defiant because they think that's who they are. This effect is especially strong with young people. They are more sensitive to what others think and more likely to be influenced by labels. If a juvenile is branded as mentally ill or criminal, they might develop a poor self-image. When multiple labels are added, like delinquent and mentally ill, the stigma becomes layered. This layered stigma can cause serious mental health issues, like depression or anxiety, and make it harder for them to recover or reintegrate into society. The criminal justice system plays a big role in this process. When someone is labeled as a criminal, they often get a deviant master status. This means society sees them mainly as a criminal, which makes it tough to be seen as anything else. If mental health labels are added, it makes the situation worse. The person faces double stigma, which can block access to proper treatment and support. Stigma and stereotypes are key parts of the problem. When someone is labeled mentally ill or criminal, others tend to avoid or fear them. This social rejection can push the person into groups where they feel more accepted but also more likely to continue their problematic behaviors. It's like being pushed into a corner where change becomes harder. Labeling can also stop people from seeking help. If someone fears being labeled mentally ill, they might avoid going to a doctor or therapist. This means their condition can get worse, and their behaviors might reinforce the negative label. It's a cycle that feeds itself. In prisons, the problem gets even more complicated. Inmates already have the label of being criminal. When mental health professionals label them as mentally ill, it adds to their stigma. Some inmates might pretend to be mentally ill to get special treatment, which makes it harder to get accurate diagnoses. This double labeling can make recovery and reintegration even more difficult. Overdiagnosis or self-diagnosis also play a part. When people label themselves or are labeled unnecessarily, they might start to believe they are mentally ill even if they are not. This can lead to behaviors that match the label, making the problem worse. The process from labeling to a deviant identity is predictable. First, someone applies a label. Then, the person internalizes it. Social opportunities close off because of stigma. They might join groups of others with similar labels. Over time, their main identity becomes that of a person with a problem, and their behaviors follow suit. From a criminological point of view, labeling theory shows how the justice system can unintentionally create more problems. Instead of fixing issues, it can reinforce them through labels. Effective approaches should focus on behavior and support, not just on assigning labels. Language matters too. Using person-first language like person with a mental health condition instead of mentally ill person can help reduce stigma. But words alone aren't enough. Society's attitudes and stereotypes still influence how people are treated after a label is given. Understanding how labeling impacts mental health helps explain why simply diagnosing or punishing isn't enough. The labels themselves can become part of the problem, affecting how people see themselves and how society treats them. Recognizing this can lead to better ways of helping people without making their problems worse through stigmatization.